There has been a lot of talk about waking up early and its supposed benefits, or lack thereof. You have some people saying it will give you superpowers, while others are saying it doesn't matter if you're awake the same amount of time. The first group is clearly fanatical about it, but the second group completely ignores any potential psychological effects, which is just arrogant and ignorant. Mornings and evenings have different quote-unquote moods. Mornings are typically analytical and focused on moving forwards. Evenings are more creative, focused on playing with what you already have and daydreaming, but not necessarily acting on those dreams. And besides that, waking up early to do stuff that is important is just kinda cool. It feels like a mission, feels like a scene from a film. And doing something cool creates engagement. Working on a pet project in the evening is also cool in a different way. Middays are kinda just life. Now, supposedly, some people have this in reverse, where they are most able to have this analytical focus in the evening. I don't know, I don't care. If I did try to be more general, I wouldn't be able to be so specific. I couldn't give information from my own experience. I also don't want to clearly state that it's possible to have this reverse. It might not be the case. Maybe those people who say that they're more analytical in the evening are not talking about the same thing. So I'm not going to talk about possible deviations. I'm just going to tell you what I have to say as precisely as I can, and whatever you do with that is your business. The important thing is that 1, you can use that to shift your schedule around so that you're in the most appropriate mood for the task, and 2, shifting your schedule around mostly doesn't move those mood periods with it. Whether you wake up at 6 or 8, the morning mood lasts up to something like 10. I don't know why that is exactly, but it definitely does seem to be the case. Some say it's because people aren't sending you tons of messages, everyone's asleep, it's quiet. But I've had periods scheduled for focused work with no distractions while waking up late, and it's just not the same. I think it's much more subconscious. What would happen if you had no sense of time? Well, my guess is that you just wouldn't have those morning mood periods at all. And I think it's time that is the key. Waking up early essentially grounds you to the reality through being concerned with time and scheduling. And it also makes that time feel more special, so you feel like you need to plan something for it. Plus, it also gives me this feeling that this is the time. I'm not going to postpone it because this is probably the one time that is more optimal than any other to get this done. There's no hesitation, like when you feel like a little tired, you think maybe I'll put it off when I feel fresh. But that's not terribly important. What's important is that all of it just works. So how can you use this knowledge? Oh, sorry, we're not talking about you, we're talking about me. Again, it's going to be of no use trying to give washed out advice for everyone. I think the most important thing here is reminding yourself that this exists, because it's so easy to forget about those non-concrete things. One thing you can use this for is getting out of a rut. If you're constantly doing things but not really getting anywhere, it's useful to shift those tasks around and put those tasks that are the real needle movers in the morning. Things that will bring change. It's like a vacation. It gives you a different perspective that you otherwise wouldn't be able to tap into. And it's so easy to disregard that, just do what you're supposed to do. But once you try it, you realize that there is no way in hell you'd be able to perform in this way otherwise, even if that doesn't fit your schedule at all. Another piece of advice I can give you is to move your morning routine to later in the day, after this morning work period. I mean, sure, take a piss, but I, for example, don't put on my clothes and put on a dressing gown instead. I don't wash my face, I put on glasses instead of contacts. I don't eat breakfast, etc. Also, modify your caffeine intake. If you take too much caffeine, that quickly shifts you to this midday mood. I guess you could have a little bit, don't try to force having no caffeine too much, but generally, at least if I've had decent sleep, I'd rather be even a little more groggy in the morning than hyperactive. just goes better with this morning style of work. I also don't draw the curtains and I use weak light sources like desk lamps, so I work in half darkness. I know it seems like you would fall asleep in minutes, but trust me, it's fine. I can still perform on a higher level than if I was fully awake. If you can shift your schedule by even 20 minutes, that can be very profound. But don't just bet that it will work out. These 20 minutes might not do anything. For some tasks, 20 minutes is just to get you started and get you in the zone. So it's either 1+ hours or nothing. You probably need to make it work for a given situation. And there is a hidden cost to doing this morning work, so the irrelevance hypothesis absolutely does apply. If you're waking up early to do work that you don't feel like doing and you just kinda trust or hope that it will help you out in the future with no evidence and real belief in it, you won't do it. But that's no problem also. If you prefer not to do it, don't do it. The hidden cost is mostly putting pressure on yourself, even if just a little. Humans are efficient. If we can just kinda go with the flow, then we will. That's a good thing. It works. It just works. Some will say that it's stupid monkey brains and this little bit of pressure is nothing. That's a nice anti-human sentiment you got there. Go ahead fantasizing about being a robot while I outperform you 10 times out of 10. One thing to keep in mind is that when you shift your schedule to later, you need to pay special attention that what you shift doesn't just get cut at the beginning instead of being shifted. Many times I've tried shifting my job and then realized I just ended work at about the same time and just worked less that day. So I encourage using a time tracker like Toggl and plan tasks so that later in the day, when your performance drops, you have some easy tasks to fill out this time slot. Keep in mind, this is a technique to do more work. So at 4 p.m., you may feel accomplished from how much you've done in the last 8 hours, but only 6 of those were what you would have done otherwise. The first 2 was something that you added in the morning. I'm not saying that it's not worth it, but be ready to do more work. That's the point. The extra couple of hours are going to be tough, but you can get used to it. Over time, you'll get better at finding simple, chill tasks to do later in the day. And to be clear, obviously something like this is easier to do when you're at university or working from home like I am nowadays. But for quite a long time, I was working in office nearly every day and I didn't need to put working on my master's thesis in the morning for me to actually take the time to do it. Of course, different situations require different approaches, but I think you can take this information and do with it what you consider appropriate. Let's also talk about what tasks to put in that morning slot. The most obvious choice would be deep work tasks, and that indeed works. But often we don't have those clearly laid out deep work tasks. And I think there is a propensity to put more admin tasks at the end of the day, and that's not really an accurate way of assigning tasks to different times of the day. Many tasks are technically admin tasks and technically easy to do, but they're also very easy to put off, and it would be useful to put those in the morning before other work. Basically, it's the tasks that move things forward. For example, if you've been putting off cleaning your house, you might want to put it in the morning one day because it just needs to get done. And after that, you can try cleaning once a week at the end of the day and see if you will do it. And if not, then again at some point you might just need to put it in the morning if that doesn't work out. So cleaning up sounds like a chill evening task, but if you don't feel like doing it in the evening, go ahead and do it in the morning. It's not like we know that this is the direct difference between you reaching your biggest goals and not. We're just trying to make things go smoother and honestly make them feel better, which we're hoping will increase your performance without having to apply much more force. No one's going to die if you don't clean your house. If someone did, of course, you'd wake up in the middle of the night and clean up. A big reason, valid reason, that I stopped doing this morning work at some point was because I really had no particular predictable deep work tasks that were also very important. But recently I reintroduced this period exactly for the more admin tasks that are important. For example, if I need to return some order, I would procrastinate on it for so long, or I need to update my CV and LinkedIn profile, or even, like mentioned before, clean up my house. I guess not knowing how to use this morning period nowadays goes back to my university days when I was 100% in on studying and I didn't have to return a lot of stuff because I just wasn't buying a lot of stuff. So mornings were always just more studying. Also, aside from the logistical convenience, I think there is a real benefit to segregating tasks into times of day, to make this differentiation between exploration in the evening and then following through in the morning. But keep in mind that finding what tasks fit in which time of day best is a skill that needs to be learned and an art. So don't expect it to work perfectly from the get-go. And do keep in mind the irrelevance hypothesis. Another thing to keep in mind is that part of why this works is just novelty. Everyone wants to be super organized. Do this every day and you will be successful. If you're doing this for the psychological benefits, don't you think that there is also going to be the psychological effect of it getting stale? And people want something that is going to work every time, and if it doesn't, then it's useless. Again, okay, robot. The best option would be to be intuitive about it, and on some days, start with this morning work period, and on others, just start the day with your typical tasks. But knowing when to do which can of course be difficult, so we can just periodize it. Maybe 3 days out of the week you do those morning tasks in the morning, and others just do normal tasks, start with a normal morning routine and leave some free time in the evening. And because you're not meticulously choosing which days those are, then some of them are going to work better and some worse. But at least you're being realistic about it. So this video was supposed to be about the debate between the waking up early fanatics and the deniers, but it ended up being about using waking up early as a tool. But that's because there's not much to say about the debate. Of course, the Batman rebuild yourself smegma mail memes, where it's a list of waking up early, meditation, exercise first thing in the morning, and you'll be successful, are silly, and the Reddit atheist types who bring up the fact that there are no peer-reviewed double-blind studies suggesting that waking up early is better are also silly. There is no intellectual debate here. It's two sides saying does not, does too. Waking up early is a tool. I don't think we need to attach a moral value to it as if it's synonymous with being a fully realized person or even with productivity. It doesn't matter which is actually true in reality until you allow some nuance into your decisions about what actions to take. You won't get anywhere anyway, and you'll always stay a meme. Because it's not about which one of those is better or worse. It's about a third thing. Something like aligning your psychology and what you want with your actions. And you have the whole field of psychology and any possible action you take at any moment and the whole world to study. You want to know what the ideal time to wake up is? 6:12. There you go. Do with that what you will. Anyway, I hope if you were against waking up early, that this video gave you an idea of how waking up early can be utilized, and maybe one day you will have some tasks to do that you cannot get to doing, and you will notice that this is the perfect opportunity to wake up early the next day and get those things done. And at the same time, you won't have to admit that those fanatics advocating for waking up early as being just good are right. And if you are already waking up early every day just because, maybe this video will give you an idea of how to use that time more effectively. And so, I'll see yours in the next videos.